Hello and welcome to Tools to Create a Better Life with myself, Glenise Hughes. Thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful for you, and for those of you watching this on the video, you can see I am in my pool space. I mean, the pool is over there, but this is quite a colorful, and I like the background of it. So this is what we're seeing behind me, and the sun is still out. So also sitting over there would make me squint, and I have to wear my glasses and all the things. So. How does it get any better than this? Yay, it's May 16th. That's what today is as of recording. And I have had a few pool days. Wow. For those not familiar with Alberta, Canada, it's magical. It's very, very magical. Anyway, what are we talking about today? The number one reason that people stay hidden. Ready? You probably know this already. But let me spell it out for you, my friends. To avoid judgment. Yep, that is the number one reason that most people stay hidden. They hide themselves, they hide their gifts, they fit in, they look like everybody else, they talk like everybody else, or at least they try to. Yeah. Guys, it's time to stop hiding. It's time to stop hiding you and your gifts, my sweet friends. Oh my goodness. And the thing with judgment, it doesn't kill you. There's the mind-blowing moment with me. Judgment will not kill you. Receiving judgment will not kill you. It actually has no power unless you give it power. Let me say that again, my sweet friends. Judgment has no power unless you give it power. So all the times that you can think of in your life where you said, well, I would have if they wouldn't have, or they said I couldn't, so I didn't, or they were mad and I didn't do that because they... The way to word it is, I chose to stop me. I chose to stop me. I chose to stop me. Now, I'm talking all, superior about it. I'm talking like, oh, no big deal. This stuff is just ease for me. And some of it is. I'll be honest. All these years later, some of it is, and some of it isn't. Some of it, there's still a lot of tools that I bring into play to really choose what I know is going to create greater. And you might have seen, if you're my Facebook friend, you might have seen that I had an experience recently where a woman sent me an Instagram message and basically, I'm just going to sum it up, basically said, you don't need to wear such bright makeup and bright colors. You're amazing as you are and we see you. And there's so much to say to that, but I want to keep it within the realm of the reason that people stay hidden. And for the post, if you're watching this on a video, you can find the link above or below wherever the text is. And if you're listening to this via an audio, you can go to my show notes on my webpage for this show, and you can find the link if you want to see what she wrote and my response was to it. But basically, one of the responses on that was really interesting because they basically said, this is why I stay hidden. That was the energy of what they said. This is why. Because their space is that they couldn't receive that. But here's the thing, guys. I'm leaning into the camera for those of you who are listening and can't see this. I didn't die. Nope. Still here. A little bit of a red face because I finished my run and I've been in the sun all day, but I didn't die. No. So if you're using the fact, let's put it out there, the fact that people will judge you because the fuckers will. If you're using that as a reason and justification to stay hidden, you're only hurting yourself, my sweet friends. That's it. Because the people that judge us are doing it to control us. And that was one of the biggest pieces of information for me where I was really ready to go, oh wait, That is not okay. Like when I really acknowledged what was going on with it, it's like, actually no. Just no. I'm not allowing somebody else's points of views to control me. I have done that for a long, long time, and it just doesn't work for me anymore. They're not wrong. That person was not wrong for sending me that message. And it doesn't work for me anymore. I'm no longer being the doormat. Normally when I receive those messages, and yes, I know some of you will be shocked, I receive a lot of those messages. You shouldn't look like this, you should look like this, you shouldn't do this, you should do this. All the things. All the things. Normally I just delete them. And what I realized with this message was that I had at the same time as I was in kind of process with what to do with that message, I was on Snapchat with my niece who's 13, and her and I were just chatting back and forth about what she was packing for the lake trip she's going on and what she's wearing and different things like that. And so it was very fresh in my mind, and I looked at it for a moment and I thought, if somebody said that to her, if somebody sent that message that the person sent me to her, and she is this phenomenal makeup artist, sweet friends, like she is a phenomenal makeup artist, like, oh my God, she's got talent in so many areas, well, completely, of course. And it just kind of crossed my mind, and I was like, if somebody sent that to her, what would I do? I wouldn't just delete it. Let me tell you, I would not just delete it. So where is that for me? Where is that kindness for me? And then I really started piecing it apart. I also talked to my sweet friend Alan Jones. Many of you probably know him. If you don't, you should. He's amazing. He's another certified facilitator with Access Consciousness, and him and I have been friends for years and years. And I messaged him on WhatsApp and I let him know what was going on, and I just asked him for some assistance with it, because he's really good at being allowance and not being a doormat. And I am really good at allowance. And I really started getting how much I've been actually using that as a reason and justification not to say what doesn't work for me, and not to make it really clear what is okay and not okay in my world, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so all of those pieces all mashed together allowed me to really look at what actually does work for me, and body shaming does not. Whether you're doing it to me, my niece, your neighbor, a dog, I don't care. It's not okay. It's never going to be okay. And what would it be like to create a planet where that wasn't even a term? Like we didn't even need to have words for it because it was so not a thing. Like what would that take? And what else is possible? And what can I be and do different to contribute to that? Yeah. So when you look at all of those things and you look at what maybe the excuses you're using to stay hidden, here's the thing that I really looked at with this whole piece was that I know, I'm very aware, and I've known this for years and years, ever since I started my radio show back in 2013. It probably took me a year or so once I started it, to be honest. So let's say 2014. So for 7 years now, I'm very aware that one of my gifts is my voice. I'm so aware of that. People say all the time, man, when I listen to your show, I feel better. When I hear your voice, I relax. When I get it, I'm so grateful, and I love the feedback, and thank you. And I know that. But what I really looked at with this whole piece was how much I was hiding the gift of my voice in that way, in the way that says, no, this doesn't work. No, this isn't okay. Yeah, I know, right? It's like 50% of my gifts I've been hiding. And I wouldn't, if you would have asked me, are you hiding any gifts with your voice? I'd have said, no, of course not. Look, I do a radio show. I mean, I'm talking all the time, pretty much. Except I never ever saw this side, because whatever, I don't need a cuz. It just didn't. I didn't until now. And so There's so many gifts in this gal's message, and I'm not even at the best one yet. I still have more to talk about with this. There's still more awesomeness with all of this. And yes, it is awesomeness. There's so many gifts. I got to look at what worked for me, and I got to deliver that to her in a way that was kind and not as a doormat. And I'm so proud of myself for finding that space and not reacting and not fighting and not deleting. Actually calling it out that it doesn't work for me, and in a way that created greater. And then I went and I screenshot it, and then I put it on Facebook and spoke about it also, which then has contributed to so many people's lives. I was getting Facebook messages from people saying, thank you. I didn't even know I was body shaming my friend when I was saying such things, or I didn't realize that I was body shaming that person, not out loud, but it was going on in my head, and that's not okay. And so I'm like, wow, this truly is the gift that just keeps giving, because I didn't delete it, because I didn't hide it, I didn't pretend. And so by unhiding the gifts of my voice, all of them, and I get this is a process, I get there's going to be more, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm just going to call a bunch of people out on their shit. I don't mean that. I just mean like, be all of me. Be all of me, whether I'm wearing makeup or not wearing makeup, whatever it is. And so when we're truly willing to unhide us, unhide our gifts, and be us, and show up, and receive the judgment, and realize we didn't die. The other thing is, and that's one of the first things I said in response to this gal was, I get that judgment has nothing to do with the person being judged. It defines the judger, not the person being judged. So her judgment actually had no bearing on me. There was no personalness to it. And it's not okay. And it stops now. Yeah. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And for me, really, it was the willingness to say the uncomfortable things. Because that's been a huge piece where I'm so aware, probably like many of you, infinitely aware of what makes people comfortable and what makes them uncomfortable. And I've spent a good part of my life choosing what makes people comfortable. Not necessarily what creates greater, but choosing what makes people comfortable. And these are not comfortable conversations for most people. This is not a comfortable conversation to tell somebody they're body shaming and they need to stop it. That's not a comfortable conversation. And yet, there's ways to have those conversations that can create greater. And there's going to be some people who don't receive them, who don't appreciate them, who react to what you say. And what if that's okay too? You still won't die. Their judgment will not kill you. Yeah, right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POD POC, shorts, boys, beyonds. Now, I've ran that a couple times. If you're new here, that is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And if you want more information about how it works, you can go to theclearingstatement.com. And really, when we look at all of this, when we get present with who we be and who we would like to be on the planet, and it's not a definition. I'm not a person who wears bright makeup all the time. Can you see? In fact, I would say that I wear it maybe one day a week, and only for a few hours. Because I like to do it. It's like painting. I don't always, every day I don't paint on a canvas. In fact, I haven't painted on a canvas in a while. Except the canvas of my face. So it's a creative outlet for me that I love to do. So I don't define myself as the person who wears bright makeup. And I don't define myself as a person who doesn't wear makeup. I don't define myself. I'm an infinite being who has infinite choice. And so even if you look at that in the way you define yourself and maybe the way you define other people, oh, they're always, oh, they never. What if we stop defining? What if we start just celebrating? Whatever it is, if the person chooses to show up on time, celebrate that. If they choose to be late, celebrate that. If they choose to be early, celebrate that. And if it doesn't work for you that they're late or they're early, then let them know. Like, really, just let them know. Yeah. So there's so many pieces to all of this, I know, and I've kind of taken a little bit off track, but there's so much when you look at that in all of the places. So the other thing that I looked at for myself was with the body shaming, and I don't mean that because she delivered that at me that I automatically am a body shamer. That's not what I mean. And I still look at those things. I still look at, okay, where am I doing that? Am I not? Where am I? Am I doing that? And if so, where? And probably for me, there's still some in more looking in the mirror than in other people's bodies. However, I'm going to be very, very, very aware of it from now on. Because even if you see somebody walking down the street and they have a different sort of an outfit on than maybe you would wear with that body shape, and you commenting on it, whether it's in your head or out loud, that is body shaming. Now, body shaming isn't right and it isn't wrong. It's just a choice. And the thing that I would say gifts me so much space is the willingness to ask the question of, does this create the future I desire? So if I'm going to make a comment about the person walking down the street in the outfit I wouldn't wear with that body shape, does that create the world I desire to live in? Does that create the future I desire? Does that create the place where I would like my nieces and nephews and family and friends to be in? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And as I was on my run, I was looking at this from a different angle of, there was a time there wasn't a term for it. Body shaming wasn't a term, but it still went on. It's just that nobody called it out. Or if they did, it was done in a very different way. Whereas now we actually have a term for it. We actually have words for it. Again, what would it take to not need the term? What else is possible? And we can be present with it. We can be aware of it. And the thing with it is no different than racism or derogatory or sexism or all the things. All the things. At one point, they were okay. That's not the correct way to say it. No one was saying anything about them. And then we got to the point where it's like, okay, this needs to stop. And there's some people who continue, and there's some people who continue because they don't have the information. And there's some people who continue because they have the information and their words I'm not going to say on my radio show, although I've said that word on my radio show before, but I'll leave it to your imagination. And so for some people, there's an education element to it. And that was really the whole point of me posting about it on Facebook, was so that people who are doing it, not realizing what they're doing, can actually be more aware. Because if you want to change anything, awareness is the first thing. First, you have to have the awareness of it. And so for some people, when they say certain terms, they may not have the awareness or the education or the information that that term is no longer okay. And so for me, I'm choosing to be that voice now. I have never been willing to be it before, and I'm willing to be it now. And not just about body shaming, but anything that I see that isn't creating the future I desire. And I'm willing to be that with myself, and I'm willing to be that with other people. And I invite you, if that sparks something for you, would you be willing also? And not from the fight, not from the defense, not from the you're wrong and I'm right, because that's not going to create the future you desire. And from the place of infinite allowance and the demand that it stops now. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. You don't have to be. You don't have to be. As long as you are acknowledging to you that it's not okay, that's step number one. You don't have to say it out loud. Some places I'm probably not going to say it out loud either. There's some places where you have to be aware that it's not going to create the future desire in that moment. And there'll be a lot of places where it does, and then there's going to be some courage required. Now, I want to tell you the rest of the awesomeness. So, and this isn't even on Facebook yet. This is, well, it will be probably by the time that you watch this or hear this, but the response that I got from the person who sent the message, and it could have went any which way. Okay, I did not send it with anything of they need to be a certain way or it needs to, nothing. I didn't even actually know if there would be a response. Their response was, because I ended it with, you know, is this the world you would like to create? Their response was, no, this is not the world I would like to create. Thank you. Now that, my friends, just brings me to tears, because when you are willing, I have contacts in, so I'm like, oh dear. Anyway, when you are willing to be with that energy that I delivered to her and receive it with such grace, she got it. She got it. And how does it get any better than that? Like, truly, now, it wouldn't have been wrong if she would have written back in defense and upset. Wouldn't have been wrong if she would have deleted me and blocked me. I mean, there's no right or wrong to this. And that grace, oh my gosh. And I actually, you might have seen a video that I did in the last few months, because I had shared a meme on Facebook, or a joke on Facebook, that I'd shared it before. I'd shared it a few times. I've been sharing it for years. And a very good friend of mine called me out on it. And she was very kind, total allowance. She was just curious of like, isn't that a little bit derogatory type of, you know, and my response for like energetically was defense and fight. And I need to, no, and it was like, actually, no. That energy shows me there's something there for me. And I really had to look at it. It was like, actually, yeah. And I just went and deleted it, and I thanked her. I thanked her for bringing it to my attention. Because with that awareness, I can make another choice. And this gal who received what I said, she can make another choice. And for me, I know I will be very aware of the choices that I make with regards to body shaming and all the things. And all of this is because I was willing to unhide all of my gifts with my voice, and what else is possible, and how much more magic can I be and create. And what a gift. What a gift. Yeah. Now I find it really interesting that a week ago, I think even more than a week ago, I had my sweet VA, well, it's hard to call her a VA, magician of everything, Erica, create a class for May 25th. So we're talking about, you know, in the future, depending on when you're seeing this or hearing this, in the future to when this event occurred. And it's called The Tools to Unhide You and Your Gifts. Interesting. So this just took it to a whole new level, and I invite you, if it's something you've been asking to do, I invite you to join us. I know that I have so much more information and so much more awareness around it now than I ever did before, and I love how consciousness has our back. I love that the class itself created with me a space where I could really look at where I was hiding some of my gifts and what else is possible, and I'm willing to see any others I'm hiding, but truly that space. So if that's something, if you've been hiding and you're ready to unhide you and your gifts, come and play. And if you're listening to this afterwards, yes, the recordings are always available. You can go to the same link or find it in my store or message me and I will get you the direct link. Because truly, what else is possible, guys, that we have never even considered? Imagine being all of you and being all of your gifts and creating the change on the planet that you desire to be a part of, to see. What is that quote from Gandhi? You know, be the change you desire to see, something like that. Yeah, that's what I perceive I chose today. And what would it be like to choose it every day? So thank you so much for being here, sweet friends. I'm so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. And what magic is possible for us as we be us, as we be the infinite beings we truly be, being the infinite gifts that we truly be on this beautiful planet of ours. Have an awesome week, sweet friends, and I look forward to playing again next week.